You're listening to The Dating Den with dating and relationship badass and best-selling author Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important dating, sex, and relationship issues you want to know about. So if you're ready for true talk that's authentic and unfiltered, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
The Dating Den with Stacey Murphy. 3 reasons why most relationships fail. Fine young ladies. Did you like that, ladies, instead of, hey, ladies? Fine young ladies, welcome. Today in the Dating Den, we have Stacey Murphy, is a love and intimacy expert. I love her moniker. She's the queen of juicy love. She was listed on the Yahoo Top 10 Love Coaches. She's been on ABC, CW, Fox Radio, iHeart, all of those. And she is one of us. She is recovering perfectionist who is slaying life the hard way with her masculine energy. I know we all can relate to that. And now she teaches professional women how to enjoy life the easy way, coming from their feminine, which is amazing. And from doing that, you get to live in harmony with your man versus being in your competitive, masculine, hard-ass, guarded self, which isn't attractive, as you all know from listening to this show. Stacey shows women how to integrate love, sex, and money into a powerful cocktail, contributing to relationship success that will stay on the test of time. I love that. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Marni. I love to hear you do the introduction. It's oh so sassy.
I'm a sassy soul. I want to just talk right away about the reasons that relationships fail. And what I want to just kind of presence for our listeners is that we see you, meaning like, I think that when I look at even just these things, love, sex, and money, just those 3 things, right? Someone might think that they're all very separate and they have their ideas about it, and they would never realize that it is impacting their ability to be successful in relationships. So I'm glad that you're here to tell the truth. So why do relationships fail? And why do we have to know this, ladies? Get ready for some truth telling from Stacey.
Oh, yeah, because definitely, being a New Yorker, saying the truth and just saying what needs to be said is always the way to go. And, this is one thing that is like the elephant in the room. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's there, but nobody wants to talk about it. And by not addressing these 3 reasons why relationships fail, this is one of the reasons why our divorce rates are so high, relationships are not sustainable. And so those top reasons are the main one, the number one reason is incompatibility. And people may think like, I'm with this person, we should be compatible and all this other stuff, but that's not the incompatibility that we're talking about. The incompatibility is about women not truly understanding themselves when they go into a relationship, and then also not understanding the other half of the relationship they're in, meaning not understanding men, right? And because what I found is and this happens on both sides. It's not just a woman's issue. It's the same thing also from a man's perspective. It's like we're in our individual camps, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? We're in our individual camps and we're hunkered in our side and nobody wants to budge, but yet we want to be in a relationship with each other.
Yeah.
So when it's this like schizophrenic thing that's going on here. And so what happens is it goes into truly understanding who you are going into the relationship and then understanding the other half that is into the relationship, meaning what is their nature versus their nurture. Nurture is their environment, their conditioning, and all this other stuff, but their nature is who you truly are. So as a woman, are you in your feminine power? Because as a woman, your feminine power is your nature. So just like me, when I said I was slaying life the hard way in my masculine energy, I wasn't being and living and operating in my nature, coming from masculine energy. I was reacting to the environment and the conditioning and the programming that I was told how I needed to be, right?
Yeah.
And so And I'm going to pause there because I hear you go, so I probably have a thought.
I just think, there's just like, I'm jotting down notes. I did an interview this morning and I like literally had so many notes by the time there was the pause. I was like, wait, let's go back to what you said 10 minutes ago. So, because you're saying such good stuff. I think one thing that I really want to presence is the underneath of this. What I hear you saying is the need to be right. Like we both have it, right? Men and women, humans have it. Mm-hmm. I think that when we are coming from this place of our unhealed self, it becomes more important to be right. Then you're like, not only are you in your separate camp, but you've like decorated it exactly how you like it, and you have no reason to leave. So I think this is really important to just see how anchored we are to our beliefs, and that it may not be our nature. It's this little operating system we have set up, which will not be overruled by desire. So even like you said, when you want a relationship, like from the core of your being, your willpower, your masculine, like get shit done, when you're all in that little camp set up, in your glamping, you're like, I'm good. So I just really want to highlight this need to be right, like gets underneath it, and it can prevent us. And that's what I was saying at the beginning. It can prevent us from even like hearing the truth.
Yes. And that is the conundrum we found ourselves in. And I want to also, in terms of this nature and nurture, I want ladies to hear this, and I know there are men that are listening to this as well, probably, but think of your nature is your internal, is internal. It is your DNA. It is your essence of who you are. And there are so many women here who are fighting against their own nature. And this is why they feel ungrounded. This is why they feel overwhelmed. This is why they feel scattered, right? This is why they feel disconnected. So many times it's, when you embrace your nature, you're actually becoming friends with yourself.
I love it.
And you are loving who you are. And there are women who are unnecessarily beating themselves up when they don't need to, right? And so here it's a permission to love you. And when you love you, that's coming from your ultimate self-worth because you value who you are, then a man will value you as well. Right? That's how this whole thing works here. And it's kind of funny because I was teaching this last night. And one of the things I said was, by not understanding a man's nature, you're actually not accepting the very men that you want to love.
Deep.
Right? I want everyone to think about that and how we unnecessarily step into sabotage and minefields when what we're doing is we're not accepting the nature of how men are. And so when you realize what you separate your nature, which is internal, from your nurture, which is external, which is our environment. The ego responds to the conditioning and the programming and all that shenanigans and stuff like that. So when you kind of realize what you're reacting to, you actually have better control over your emotions and your feelings because you're not being held hostage by your programming. Right. And so that's like the first bucket with the incompatibility piece. And it's almost 50% why relationships fail due to that incompatibility. And it's specifically that little key right there. Like I said, it goes both ways. There are men who are stuck in their way and they're sabotaging stuff as well. But so I don't want anyone to think of, oh, this is just a woman's issue, because it's not. It's not. But I think majority of our clients who we talk to are women.
Yeah.
So that's how come sometimes, we put it in that context and things like that. Now, the other two reasons why relationships fail, and this is equally as important, the other two reasons are money and sex. Those are the other two reasons why relationships fail. And what that means is you go into a relationship harboring money issues or have a lack mentality or a victim mentality, or you go into a relationship with sexual inhibitions, all kinds of things of that nature. I know women who are married and they're embarrassed to show their body to their husband.
What?
And
wow.
I mean,
I believe you.
Like sex coach.
Yeah, no, I believe you. Oh my gosh. Wow.
All kinds of stuff. I worked with this one couple. They were married. They've been married for 2 years. The husband contacted me and he goes, here's my situation. My mouth, I was like, what? They had been married for 2 years and she was still a virgin.
Okay. That's a whole other episode.
I
I have such compassion for them. Oh my God. I'm glad they reached out.
Yes, I kid you not. But see, this is what I'm talking about.
Yep. Yeah.
These are things. They're married. They've been married for 2 years and she's still a virgin because she's afraid to have sex. And so these are real life issues as why relationships fail. So what happens is, it is the only thing we have control over, Marni, as you know, is ourselves.
Yep.
Right? How we react, what we say, what we do. That's all we have control over. And so what happens is, here it's, you ask yourself, all right, where am I at with loving me? Where am I at with accepting me? Where am I at with understanding me? Because when you accept yourself, love yourself, all that, you can easily articulate that, communicate that, and share that with your partner. And then that is how he can get to know you, love you, and have great adventures with you. Because a high quality man, which I call stallions, right?
Yeah.
I call my high quality men stallions, and I call the low quality men donkeys.
Oh my God. I love that. That's such a nice way to not say ass. I love that about you, Stacey.
It's like, but you have to, just like you with the sassiness, dating and relationships should be fun.
Yeah.
Right. It should be fun. And so like I tell like a lot of my ladies, I say to them, when you're starting to date your people, give them a creative name so that you can remember a quality around them, especially if you're in the beginning of dating and you're dating more than one person. You don't want to confuse them. That would be a little bit embarrassing.
But you gotta, yes. And also positive. Because I know that when I was single and I was not following my own advice back in the day, I was giving them like judgy, like sarcastic names. Like bald guy or foot fetish guy or, whatever it is. Yeah, some like thing that your friends would be, the coffee table book version. Yeah. So you're talking like a lot, like a goodwill and credit kindness nickname.
Yeah, like, one of my partners, his nickname, the nickname I gave for him was GQ. And it had a dual meaning. Well, one was, he dressed like he stepped out of a GQ magazine. So that was the obvious. Right? That's fun. That's the obvious. But the other reason why he was really called GQ is he was from Germany. So I called him German quality.
Wow. I love it. So positive association. You're training your brain to look for what you like, rule in rather than rule out.
Yes. And this also returns fun back into, because so many men say, oh my God, I feel like I'm on a job interview.
Yes.
And it sucks the fun out of it. And so, but what happens is it's really connecting. And so those are the top 3 reasons why relationships fail that really need to be looked at before you get into a relationship and during the relationship, all at the same time. Because ladies may not realize this, but, I also work with, my background training also in sex coaching was Tantra, right? Which is sacred sexuality, a form of sacred sexuality that comes from the East. And what happens is, with all of that energy and the Tantra and stuff like that in your energy centers, a lot of women don't know that your pleasure center in your body, which is right above by your pubic bone, that's everyone's pleasure center in everyone's body, whether you believe it or not or know it or not, that's where it is. But that is responsible not only for pleasure and passion and sex and intimacy, that same energy center is also responsible for money.
Really? Tell me more.
Yes. It's also responsible for money, and it's also responsible for creativity, because sex and money are both emotional. They're emotional. Money is emotional. It's not a piece of paper, because a lot of people don't even pay for things with a piece of paper anymore.
Right.
Right? It's online, whatever. Money, we buy with our emotions. Something makes us feel good. Something makes us look good, whatever. If we're feeling that, then we'll buy it. Right. And I should know, I did 25 years in corporate brand marketing. That was my past life before becoming a coach. Right. And so It's emotional, and it all resides in that same center. And it's really interesting when you look at the top 3 reasons relationships fail. Incompatibility was the highest, around 43, maybe 45%. But sex and money were 28 and 22, literally almost exactly the same, because they reside in the same energy center. So many times when a person is closed off sexually, they'll also have some issues with their money, and vice versa, right? And so this is one of those reasons why it's so important to look at that. And then this is why when I'm working with my ladies, I also teach them, make love to your money as if it were a man.
Yeah, I love that.
And stuff like that. And the same exact thing. It's like, don't be afraid of it, but embrace it, love it. It's okay to love money, right? Because money is not the root of all evil. It's what people will do to get the money. That's the issue, but not money itself. So this is all part of that soup. And so when I'm working with my ladies, it's focusing on, all right, do you clearly know who you are, accepting who you are? And then I teach them and train them to understand men, right? To understand how they think, how they love, how they feel, all this other stuff. But then also it then gets into, all right, I'm a sex coach, so I definitely talk about sex in my coaching.
Right.
And things of that nature. Because ladies, I would tell ladies, you should never be sexual or intimate with anybody out of obligation.
Yes.
Do never do that. Only a selfish man will still want to have sex with a woman and she's not enjoying herself, right? That's a selfish man. That's one of those donkeys that I was talking about. But a stallion, a high quality man, he wants his woman to be happy intimately as well, sexually as well, because he feels I am doing my job as a man to be able to provide for my woman, including her pleasure, right? And so what happens is they want to make sure that you're having a good time too.
Right.
Which is how it should be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, absolutely. I think that for men especially, that is really a huge part of what makes a quality guy feel like he's providing. And I'd love to ask you this question about traditional providing and money and non-traditional, because we have a lot of women who listen, right, where they might make more, or they are having a hard time understanding or believing that maybe their right guy doesn't make as much or more than them, right? Like they might be compatible with someone who is not what they thought. How does that come into the money and sex equation? And how do women get past what they believe in that area?
All right. Now, that is, first of all, it's an amazing question because, yes, that's also, I would consider, I may be a little bit strong when I say it's like an epidemic, in modern society anyway. And there are different ways to slice that question. So the first thing is to understand how men view money in a relationship and how women view money. Okay. Because they're very different.
Yeah, tell us.
They're very different. Women view money from safety and security. Men view money as a stepping stone to get them to the next part. So this is why men are they are much more comfortable gambling with money, taking chances with money, investing money, right? And doing certain things like that, because to men, they have a different attitude about what money plays or the role that it plays in life. So because women see money as safety and security, they'll want to hold on to money. And because men see it as a stepping stone, they're okay with spending the money. All right.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. That's the first thing you have to understand the difference there. Then the other thing you have to then look into, it's okay to be a saver. It's okay to do investments as long as you're not hoarding, because that is coming from a lack mentality and that will hold you back. And then there'll be strife in the relationship, because you have different perspectives. So this is why in modern relationships, some people, when they're just starting to date, they'll ask a person for their credit score.
Yeah, that's not super. I would not recommend that direct line of questioning.
Yeah, but some people do that. I mean, and some people do that because they're like, they want to know what is your What is your viewpoint about money? Are you responsible with money and all this other stuff like that? So that's like the first thing. So that's the first thing. You have to understand the different viewpoints, and then you have to then understand what is your personal viewpoint. So that's a generalization of how women usually view money, how men usually view money, but then what is your personal view of money, right? And so you have to go down to, and you have to understand that before you even get into the relationship and things of that nature. So then that's the one thing. Now, when you have, of course, a lot of women, they're executives, they're owning their businesses, just like I own my business, you own your business, and different things like that. And here's the part where you have to be really careful. And this is where the perspective that I teach my clients. I am in the camp where you earn whatever you want to earn. You go whatever level you want to go. Be careful at not emasculating your partner because you earn more money, because that is what will torpedo the relationship, because that both combines incompatibility and money issues at the same time. And so there are books out there like, when the woman's the breadwinner, how to do that. But that's the one thing in terms of not emasculating your partner. So here's where it's really important to really understand perspectively where you each are leading, right? So I believe in these egalitarian relationships. And in my world, it's whatever his strength is, he leads that. Whatever your strength is, you lead that.
I want to just highlight this, ladies, because I think this is like a mic drop moment from Stacey, because I was teaching at an event and we were talking about all the different things that I swear on this show that fuck with your head around relationship compatibility and synchronicity and all these things. And I think that there's this power play sort of mentality where women are so confused because whatever age or generation you were raised in, while we're all feminists and we're all powerful, there's little pieces of that are like, I lead all day. I don't want to ever have to lead, right? Like, I want him to like make all the decisions and do all this stuff. Like, they almost get pissed that they have to take leadership, even though they would totally tell me, like, I 100% believe women are powerful, blah, 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 blah. But then they get like kind of pissed that a guy isn't like doing 100% of the leadership. So I think what you're saying is like, we all have to take turns leading in a successful relationship.
Yes. And because it's not one way or the highway. You know what I mean?
Right.
That would be like being in a relationship with a narcissist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
But that's not how life is. And what happens is relationships, they're about collaboration, not competition. Right. And it's about collaboration. And so the easiest thing is you focus on your respective strengths and then you lead in that. So like, for example, in all my relationships, I was the one that handled the money. Even if my partner was earning more money than me, I was still the one that was handling the money in the household because that was my strength. I enjoyed doing it. They didn't enjoy doing it. So they're like, hey, you do that. Right? Because you enjoy doing that. I can't, now I like it, but back in the day, I couldn't stand going to the grocery store. I was one of those drive-by grocery people, zipping down each aisle so I can quickly get out of the grocery store. And my partner, he would turn around and I was gone with the cart. He's like, where did you go? Right? And he's like, where did you go? You're going too fast. It's like, how many rolls of toilet paper are you going to pontificate?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I want to go. So what happened was he said, going to the grocery store with you is too stressful. Stay home and I will go to the grocery store.
And you're like, yes, thank you.
You go. So he was the one that did the grocery store shopping. I was the one that did the finances. But he was Mr. dealing with the car, dealing with the mechanics, dealing with all this other stuff. But he liked grocery shopping.
I love that.
And this also isn't about roles.
Right.
And people really, and that's a trigger. People confuse being in your nature as a woman, in your feminine energy, and a man being in his nature and his masculine energy. They confuse that with gender roles, which is something totally totally different. And so here it's not about gender roles. Being in your nature is your DNA and who you are. Gender roles is what society has imposed upon us. Now, some of them come legitimately, like women by nature, a majority are nurturers, right? One way or another, even if we don't have children. You know, if you're an administrative assistant or a coordinator at some job, you're nurturing your boss.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a nurse, if you're a doctor or whatever, you're nurturing your patients, right? So it's not just children. It's not just motherhood where the feminine nurturing shows up. It shows up in so many different areas. So this is what it is about really honing into that. And that's why I tell people, you know, I'm a recovering perfectionist who was slaying life the hard way with my masculine energy. And I was even dressing the role. I had a 3-piece pinstripe suit with a yellow tie, a white collar.
I want to see these photos. I'm looking at your little Skype picture right now, and that is not what I'm seeing. I can't even imagine you like that. That's crazy.
No, those are my New York days in my 20s, right? Yep. I'm a Gen Xer, right?
Yeah.
I'm a Gen Xer. So that was back, 30 plus years ago, when I was in my 20s, and life was difficult. It was difficult because I was not living my authentic self. And because I was resonating in so much masculine energy, men were intimidated to even talk to me. You know, and so these are the things. And so here it's about being in your powerful feminine, but doing it a woman's way.
I love this. Way. I love it. We could talk for hours. You're amazing. So I'm like, that's I'm running out of time. No. Okay. So I have a question for you about the 4 pillars of love. Right. And so I want to make sure we obviously won't have time to go into each one, but if you tell us what they are, and then what is one that one of the listeners can kind of just start to like maybe take ownership of as something they want to cultivate.
All right. Well, here are the 4 pillars of love. I'll share those. And then I'm also, because this also goes into the second part of your question.
Yep.
I will then show how those 4 pillars of love connect to what I call the man code formula.
Love it. Okay.
And this is the man code formula pretty much is a secret to understanding men to get the commitment.
Okay.
And when you understand the buttons to push, the things to tweak and turn and all this other stuff to make him go, oh, right? You get that commitment.
I love it.
So the 4 pillars of love are mental, emotional, physical, sexual, right?
Okay.
Those are the 4 pillars of love. And so I would like for you to think of the 4 pillars of love are like the 4 legs of a chair that you would sit on.
Okay.
Now, everyone has sat in a wonky chair, right?
Yeah.
So you've sat in a chair where it's a little bit wonky. It'll still sustain you, right? You'll still be able to sit on it. And the 4 pillars of love are the same way. They don't have to all be even and perfectly leveled or anything like that. One can be a little bit wonky. It's okay. The relationship will be fine. But here's what is important. If you sit on a 4-legged chair and one of the legs is broken, what's going to happen? You're going to fall right off the chair.
Well, it tips over. It's so funny that you're saying this because I had a chair in my office that I didn't realize was poorly constructed. And I literally fell over in my chair.
So you literally know what I'm talking about.
I literally know what, and you're just in it. And then you realize, you're like, what? And then it just falls over.
Right. You're like on the floor. And so what happens is that's how the 4 pillars of love also works. One of the pillars can't be broken because if it is broken, your relationship won't be sustainable. Okay. Now for women, the pillar that's usually broken is the sexual pillar. And then the other pillar that's on overdrive is the mental pillar, right? Is on overdrive in the form of overthinking.
Yeah.
Right? Overthinking, overprocessing, overwhelm, over, right? So what happens is the mental. So what happens is that's how I want people to think of those pillars. So each person listening to this, do a self-assessment. Where are you in those 4 pillars with yourself? Where are you with those 4 pillars with yourself? So then here's how they kind of show up in men, and then how women can match themselves to that. Okay.
Okay.
So when it shows up in men in terms of the man code, so it would be that mental pillar, that would be mind power. And for men, it's about mind power, mental seduction, and for a woman to be his confidant, right? So that's like checkpoint number one to get that commitment from men. It's mental seduction, so you can get into his head, because when you get into a man's head, you can get into his heart, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first stop, right? Is checkpoint number one is the mind power through mental seduction, so you position yourself as your man's confidant. And why would you want to position yourself as your man's confidant? So you can be the first person that he goes to confide in. And what happens is you want to position yourself as his confidant. So you can be the first person that he comes to seek advice, insight, your man will tell him his dreams, his aspirations, and everything else. So that's a valuable position to be in. Now, if you're a high value woman, right, a professional woman, like I know many people here are listening, you want to be part of a power couple with your man, right? So that's why being his confidant is the first checkpoint, because that is positioning you as part of a power couple. Now, the second checkpoint is when you combine the mind power with your feminine seduction in the form of sex appeal. What happens is you are positioning yourself as your man's sex symbol, right? And why would you want to be your man's sex symbol so some other woman isn't? That's why, right?
Okay, I love it.
You want to be your man's sex symbol so porn, the internet, and some other woman isn't being his sex symbol. And why do I say that? It's because biology. This is also part of our nature, all right? Women have 90% more estrogen than men do, which is responsible for how we can do backstrokes in our emotions, right? And things of that nature. We can do backstrokes in our emotions. It's driven by that estrogen. This is why it's so important, but also our mental is driven by that as well. Well, men have 90% more testosterone than women do. That's what makes a man a man.
Right.
And testosterone is responsible for sex drive and arousal. Okay. So this is why that's checkpoint number 2 in this man code, because it's playing into and it's really becoming friends with his nature and his testosterone, right? That's why you want to be your man's sex symbol. So when you combine the mental power or his confidant, which is an inner game, with wanting to be his sex symbol, which is that sexual attraction, which is an outer game, you combine those two things together. That's what makes a man feel good about himself when he's in your presence. And when a man feels good about himself in a woman's presence, he'll want to go back again and again and again and again, right? And then that leads to the second half of the man code, which it quickly leads to physical intimacy. Now, physical intimacy is not what people initially always assume, which is sex. No. Physical intimacy, first of all, intimacy is, I love how my mentor, Dr. Ava Cadell, broke down intimacy. Intimacy is into me, see.
Yep.
Right? So it's being able to see into a person and allowing a person to see into you. So this is when your man invites you into his castle. And it's into his social circle, into his job, into his dreams, into his home. That is being in his castle, right? And so that is driven by masculine energy. It's an outer game. And when you combine that with the emotional connection, which is being in his heart, that once again is that inner game. And then you combine those together. And so when you have this whole entire loop, this whole entire code going, that's what leads to the commitment. Because being in his heart, that's where the vulnerability lies, ladies. The V word. The V word, right? You know, I love Brene Brown, The Power of Vulnerability.
Yep.
I'm sure you've talked about it. Watch that, because there is power in vulnerability, and vulnerability is a feminine strength. And men look to women on how to be vulnerable because vulnerability is driven by estrogen. That's why. And so, ladies, it's not like men are unfeeling and they don't care and all this other stuff. They just have to go a different route to access those same emotions and feelings that are at the surface for women because of our biology.
I love that. That's so great. And that goes back to sort of like that idea of ruling out and ruling in. When we understand that a man I think Alison Armstrong says, men aren't just hairy women, right? They're different. They're wired different. They are.
Yes.
I think that's so awesome. So let me ask you one last question because the time is going so fast. If you were going to look at the idea of, what is the number one thing that sabotages our connection? What do you think that is?
I've spoken about it, and I'll put it probably in this one sentence that can help encapsulate that. What happens is what sabotages a lot of our relationships, because there's two sides to that. Half the sabotage is on the female side, half the sabotage is on the male side. And sabotage also comes from issues around worthiness, right? And so what happens is, I'm going to say this in one sentence, where sabotage comes from a lack of worthiness that comes from believing your conditioning and your programming while ignoring your nature. And that's where sabotage comes from. So we're fighting our own existence and believing outside circumstances. And so this is why we lose ourselves in relationships and why we can't understand the other side. It's because we are ignoring our nature and we're replacing that by believing our conditioning and our programming. And that causes this impasse in relationships, and that causes the sabotage.
It's all connected, isn't it, Stacey?
It is all connected. I mean, nothing lives in isolation. Nothing lives in isolation, but just breaking it down and understanding certain things, like I say, knowledge is power, right? So, and there's this one thing around this. I'm sure you hear it as well. I hear from a lot of women, well, I want it to be organic. I want it to be natural. If I have to do this or that, it just takes all the fun out of it. And then I say to them, okay, let's work with that logic, right? Let's work with that logic. So I say to them that if most of us here, we were born in the States, right? We were born here in the States.
Yeah.
And I say to them, okay, we were born here in the States, and our normal language, or our primary language, is English, right? You learn English at home. They're like, yeah. So then I go, all right, did you have to take English at school? And they said, yes. I said, okay, well, if you had English at home, shouldn't it have been organic? You should know everything about English. Why do you have to learn English at school? What did you learn in school about English that benefits you now? Oh, well, we had to learn spelling and punctuation and grammar. I said, well, why was that necessary if English is organic? And then that's when people pause. That's when people pause. And I said, just like this, if you're trying to understand and learn yourself and you're still trying to figure out you, what makes you think you know everything about men? And you want to spend the rest of your life with a man, then I think you probably need to know something about them.
I love that. And I would say, if I wanted to be organic, I would say, well, I color my hair. I shave my pits.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I'm like organic too. Like, I'll eat an organic piece of freaking fruit all day long, but I'm of that age where I would like to have my hair not be gray. And I would like to shave my legs. So that's organic. So I think all of this is just what you're doing. And I think it's so amazing is like, it's flipping the rules that you have. I'm a writer, and I always get asked, what's the rules in this family? What's the rules in this person's paradigm, right? Because we're all living by these rules. And all of these pieces that you're bringing up are like, hey, guess what? The world that you have constructed for yourself, while it might make you feel safe and in control so you can slay masculine energy, right? Is it the world that you want to live in? And what are you going to do to like kind of blow up that bridge and go on that hero's journey so that you can actually change it and go through that transformation? So I appreciate every single juicy nugget. See, you're the woman, the juicy girl. It was so juicy. And I loved all of it. And I am so excited for people getting to hear this brilliance. Ladies, you can find out more about Stacey in the show notes in the Vixen Academy. Stacey, thank you for being here. I am so happy to have met you, and hopefully our paths will cross when you get to California.
Yes, most definitely. And thank you for having me, Marni. This is great. And I love the work that you do as well. We're all needed, right?
More love is needed in this world, that's for sure.
Amen. So whatever you do, do it with some damn dignity. We'll see you next time, ladies. Bye-bye for now. Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Batista, and let's talk soon.